Hello, Honors Algebra class. Today we're starting a new chapter, all right, chapter 10. And chapter 10 is just all about radical expressions and equations. The first section here is Pythagorean theorem. And the reason that they put Pythagorean theorem into this chapter is because there's a lot of radicals, all right? Remember, one of the most famous formulas in all of algebra, all right, and geometry. You're actually going to be using this a lot in geometry. You're probably going to be using it a lot in algebra 2, all right, is the Pythagorean theorem. The Pythagorean theorem is a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared, all right, where a, b, and c represent the side lengths of a right triangle, okay? So that is a right angle marker. This is a right triangle. This side would be A, this side would be B, and this is C. Now, the sides A and B can be interchanged, okay? That doesn't matter, all right? Side C, the hypotenuse is what it's called, always has to be C. All right, your legs, which are these two sides, the two sides that create the right angle, those are called the legs. They can be A and B or B and A, whatever, but C is always the hypotenuse. So if we take a look at problem number 1 on the lesson check on page 616, all right, they draw a right triangle, and we know it's a right triangle because of that marker. If that marker's not there, then you don't know. 15, 36, and x. So the only question you have to ask yourself is, what side is the hypotenuse? What side is the C? So the right angle marker, see how that's like an arrowhead? It always points to the hypotenuse, which is your C. So if I'm setting this up, the A and the B don't matter, 15 and 36. So 15 squared plus 36 squared is equal to x squared. All right, so I get my trusty calculator. All right, I do 15 squared is 225. 36 squared is 1296. This is equal to x squared. So I'm going to add 225 plus 1296. I get 1521. And then the last step, square root, both sides. So square root of x squared is x. The square root of 1521, 39. So that x is equal to 39. Now, let's do another problem. Number 2. Number 2, they give us another right triangle. This is 25. This is 24. This is y. Once again, the first question you ask yourself, what is my hypotenuse? What is the C? Well, here's my arrowhead. My arrowhead is pointing to the 25. So y squared plus 24 squared is equal to 25 squared. The 25 has to be over here because that's the C. So now y squared plus, all right, I go to my trusty calculator. 24 squared, 576. 25 squared, 625. Now look at the little difference here from the last problem to this problem. I have to subtract that 576 on both sides. All right, so 625 minus 576. So y squared is equal to 49. And I take the square root. All right, so y is equal to 7. So this was slightly different than that first problem we did. In the first problem, we didn't know what the hypotenuse was. down here, we did know what the hypotenuse was. We were solving for another leg, all right? Now, I want to look at number 3 real quick too. Number 3 is asking you, can these 3 lengths be the sides of a right triangle, all right? And because the converse of the Pythagorean theorem is true, all right? So the Pythagorean theorem, the regular theorem, basically says, if you have a right triangle, then a squared plus b squared equals c squared. The converse says, if a squared plus b squared equals c squared, then you have a right triangle. So you don't need to know if your triangle is a right triangle. You can just test side lengths, okay? And if these 3 sides, if they work in the Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared, then you know this is a right triangle with those side lengths. Well, now you're asking, well, what the heck is the hypotenuse? How do I know what the c squared is? You said that that's the most important thing. Well, the c squared, you always have to use the biggest number because the hypotenuse, or the c, is always the longest leg of a right triangle. It is the largest side of a right triangle. So let's test it out. 12 squared plus 35 squared, does that equal 37 squared? So we have 144, all right? 35 squared is 1225. Does this equal 1369? So let's add these together. 144 plus 1225. Yes, it does. So this is a right triangle. And whenever you have 3 whole numbers, no decimals, all right? So basically everything we've been doing today, we had 15, 36, 39 for this one. And then we had 7, 24, 25. And then we had 12, 35, 37. No decimals. If those 3 numbers, without decimals, whole numbers, if they work in the Pythagorean theorem, then it's called a Pythagorean triple. So like 3, 4, 5. If you test the numbers 3, 4, and 5, where 5 is the hypotenuse, that is a Pythagorean triple. So is 6, 8, 10. So is, I think, 8, 15, 17, I think works. But you can test them out. All right, hopefully this helps. Have a great day. Stay healthy.